Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Kev Baker, and this is hour number 2 of today's Kev Baker Show. And I have got the man himself. Yes, Johnny Whistles is with me. How you doing, Whistles?
Doing fine, Kev. Thanks very much. Yep, been a good day. Everything's looking good. Looking forward to the show, mate.
Awesome stuff. And tomorrow I have got Scotty Lopez on the Safe Space. So we're going to have a Halloween daytime kind of stream tomorrow with Scotty. And then tomorrow night in hour number 1, we have got, wait for it, folks, Brent Thomas in the Paranormal Portal. He will be live on the Kev Baker Show tomorrow. Yes, in hour number 1. And then later on in the day, Brent is going to be embarking on something he is calling the Parathon. Yes, and that will be at 8 p.m. on the West Coast, 11 p.m. on the East Coast. And if you're in the UK, it's going to be a very early in the morning shot, and it's going to be at 3 a.m. Yes, that's right. I remember to take the hour off as well. I've got it all sussed here. And Johnny, on the stream today, we were looking at some weird and wonderful woo, getting us ready for Freaky, well, getting us not Freaky Friday, but Halloween tomorrow. And there was a video that came up, and the other night we were talking about the pale crawlers. I don't know if you caught that segment of the show where we're getting into pale crawlers. Yeah. But there was a video today and watched, and I swear, dude, that the only way I could describe it was like one of these pale crawlers. I'll need to show you after the show, Whistles. But it's been kind of a strange day, and I was having a laugh at the start of this show today. Because, dude, that zombie story that we covered last night, it's not very often I get emails in response to the show. People weren't complaining, but they were absolutely freaked out the direction that story went, and it caused me to think about it. And creepypasta, John, it's the birthplace of the Slender Man. There was us going in there, half-cocked, half-baked, just having a laugh, picking stories willy-nilly. And in reality, this is one of the websites, or the website, where that thing, that idea, that thought form ended up going from web pages and the imagination of people's minds into the real world. Now, I'm not saying that we summoned any real brain-eating zombies, Johnny, but I tell you what, that's some website, isn't it?
I mean, if you really want the crazy, it really is a place to go. Do you know what I mean? Because honestly, some of the stories that are in there, Kev, and they go back, honestly, you could spend hour upon hour in there, and the stories are just, they're tremendous, they really are. But most of them, well, probably 100% of them are all fake, okay? But I tell you what, it gets the old mind going, and it gets the old heartbeat going, do you know what I mean? So, well worth a visit.
Oh, absolutely. And there's even a creepypasta YouTube channel as well, where they've got all the sound effects going. They've got somebody with a really good reading voice going. And I tell you, if you were looking for some good creepy woo, maybe, you know, your favourite show on YouTube isn't on at the time, something like that. Creepypasta, folks. Turn out the lights and get ready. Oh, there's a plethora of woo in there. But we're not going to creepypasta just yet, John. But one of our good listeners, a good friend from Wales, Susie, she sent me a story the other day. And I think it's definitely worth us going through some of these. I'm going to send you a link here, John.
Right.
You'll be able to pull this up. But this is 17 or 18 lists, or truly bizarre true stories, or totally bizarre true stories, right? Now, I had a look. I've not looked at all of them, so I'm probably going to get bitten again as we go through some of these, right? You know what's going to happen, John. But I think taking a look at some of these might just get us in the right frame of mind, the right mood to get us prepped for tomorrow. So I'm going to bring it up right now. And of course, folks, Johnny Whistles live here, hour number 2 of the Kev Baker Show, and we are simulcasting on YouTube today. But never forget the home of the Kev Baker Show, always, TFRlive.com, where you can guarantee you get all 2 hours of the show each day, every day. So big shout out to everyone over at TFR Live. Big shout out to everyone at YouTube Live as well. And let's get into some of these creepiest stories, as they're saying, Mr. Whistles. So we're going to come down here. I'm going to go for number 1 first. You can take number 2. How does that sound? Right?
That's fine.
We'll do one and we'll discuss it. And then, yeah, that's it. That's cool. We'll do it alternate. So it says here then, woman smoking on balcony at 3 a.m. sees a suspicious man who shows up at her door moments later. Now, a few years ago, I was living in a fairly nice apartment complex, having a cigarette on my balcony around 3 a.m. on a Tuesday night. And I'm usually on my phone, but I got this weird chill and looked up to see the middle-aged man, or a middle-aged man, walking down the sidewalk across the complex. Now, it struck me that he did not belong here, and I realised he wasn't one of the residents. As I was thinking this, he suddenly stopped and looked right at me, making eerie, way too long eye contact, and then rushed off between the buildings in the opposite direction of my apartment. Now, I told my husband about it and joked that if we get a knock at the door in the next 15 minutes, we can assume it's that creeper. Sure as crap, 10 minutes later, there's a quiet, faint on our door. And my eyes probably popped out of my head, and my husband jumped up to get his gun from the other room. I slowly walked to the door to look through the peephole, holding my breath, and there was the man I had seen, looking right at me through the peephole. Now, I know he wasn't able to actually see me, but the image of him looking right into my eye still freaks me out to this day. My husband walked up to the door, stared through the peephole, and shouted, "What?" in this threatening voice. Apparently, the man had his hand on the doorknob and jerked back in surprise to hear a man's voice. Now, the dude asked for Jeremy or some made-up name, and my husband told him to leave. After bullcrapping us for a little bitty longer, the guy finally walked downstairs, only to peer into my living room window from the lawn. I closed the blinds and he moved over to stare at me through the balcony door. He didn't move on until after I'd shut that one too. We called security and gave a clear description of everything, and a few days later, we got a report from our complex that an apartment had been robbed around that time that night. What keeps me up at night is the question, if you're going to rob an apartment, why would you go to one that you definitely know a woman is awake and home, seemingly alone? Ooga booga. Now, that's more real-world creepers than anything otherworldly. But can you imagine that, John? Especially if, say, she had been living alone and things. I mean, what was that character actually planning on doing if that is the case? The mind boggles, dude.
Yeah, I know. I mean, at that time in the morning, Kev, there's some people that are not awake enough to realise the danger, and they open the door. Do you know what I mean? And
you know, John, at that time in the morning,
freaky.
I would probably think it must be bad news. I'd be thinking, oh, something's happened to somebody. Why is somebody coming to my door at that time of night? So,
Exactly.
yeah, absolutely, man. Weird one.
That really is. That's quite strange. You know what I mean?
Big time. Let's go for number 2, Johnny.
Okay, number 2.
Let's see it. Let's see if this adds to the creep factor. We want good woo.
Woman finds man with knife petting her
Now,
house.
Johnny, you're going to have to just back off that mic a little bit because you're blowing up.
Okay.
That's it. Perfect.
Woman finds man with knife petting her house. I don't know how you're meant to do that, but here we go.
Whoa.
My bedroom is on the second floor of the house. There's no patio, porch, overhang, or any kind beneath my windows. A couple of years ago, I was watching TV in bed. Around 2 a.m., I heard a louder than usual animal sound. Not uncommon to hear squirrels running around in the roof from time to time. Didn't think much of it. Kept on happening and started to sound awfully close to the window, not on the roof. I ignored it for a pretty long time. After at least 40 to 45 minutes of being irritated by the noise, I banged on the wall in hopes of scaring them off until I could get to sleep. Just 2 quick bangs with my fist, which were answered with 2 bangs on the wall.
Oh, heck.
Right next to the window from outside. Needless to say, I just about crapped myself and jumped out of bed. Now, the living room is a bay window and is on the other end of the house, so I could look out that window from the side and see my bedroom window. I hustle downstairs and peek out. I see a guy standing in front of my house below my bedroom window, and he's got a knife, a small pocket knife in his hand, and he's petting the front of my house. Call the police and wait. He never leaves the front of the house, even when they roll up and ultimately disarm and arrest him without too much struggle.
Hang on.
What?
Is this like one of these deviants that's got a thing for houses and he's got a penknife with him in case somebody like tries to rip him off the house? Yeah, nice house. A housey. John, after what I watched on the stream today, there's people making love to earthworms, my friend. A house actually might seem like a good option at this time. Petting the house is actually normal behaviour, considering some of the things I've looked at the past couple of weeks on the stream. Believe me, John. I know, dude. I know. The look on your face is exactly the look that any normal man has on his face when being met with the news that there's people having relations with jars of earthworms. But it's a thing. It's truly a thing. And the only grey area that said person has a problem with is whether or not the worms have been able to consent to said loving. I know, John. So somebody petting a house, attracted to a house, in this day and age, dude, maybe.
Normal.
Yeah, maybe the
normal.
architecture, maybe the angle of the coving or something really done it for them, Like a nicely turned ankle on a girl in a heel. This guy looks for eaving and, look at the garage, look at the extension on that one. Look at the size of the gazebo it's got, Johnny. Oh. The only thing creepy about that story is that there was somebody petting the house. Honestly. Yeah. So number 3, in fact, it says, is this creepy? No. Number 3, family moves into a new house. Toddler befriends a ghost of a man who had died there. Now we're talking about it. Now we're in it. So, turn down the lights, folks. Here we go. We moved into a new house a few months ago. And as we were in the process of purchasing? Same as purchasing, I suppose. They were buying a house. And the renter who lived in it died unexpectedly of natural causes in his mid-40s. Now, he died right in the middle of the living room. Shortly after, we move into the house, and almost immediately, our 2-year-old daughter starts talking about the ghost that lives in our house. Stop there, Johnny. Here we go again, right? A 2-year-old. What 2-year-old's forming lies about a ghost in the house?
No.
It's not happening.
No.
Yeah, that girl...
She sees it.
Yeah, that girl is literally seeing a ghost. Mm-hmm. So it says, now let's be real here. She is 2 and 2-year-olds are very impressionable. Yeah, but they're also very honest. Mm-hmm. And it says Halloween had recently passed. Okay, then. Okay, that's fine. I get it. And she had this Halloween-themed picture book that she loved to read. So it's entirely possible that all the talk of ghosts was just coming from looking at the book on a regular basis. And if that makes the wee girl's parents feel more comfortable, I'll go with that. So still, she was always telling them that the ghost was in her playhouse in the basement, or that the ghost was on the stairs, or that the ghost was standing in the corner. She never seemed to be afraid of the ghost and considered him to be her friend. So I wasn't all that concerned, even if there really was a ghost haunting our house. Now, if he's a nice and helpful ghost, it could certainly be a lot worse. Mm-hmm. I would often tell the ghost that he was welcome to stay if he wanted to, but he was also welcome to go if that would make him happier. Now, I was about 30, 70 on the ghost being real, and she could see and talk to him versus the ghost being just her imagination fueled by her Halloween book. Until one day, when we were going out to the car to go to daycare in the morning. It was still dark out and rainy, and my daughter told me that the ghost was on the back deck. And she told me that today was the ghost's birthday, and she wanted to sing him happy birthday. Now, once again, I mostly disregarded what she was saying, as she is birthday obsessed and has in the past made us sing happy birthday to Mickey Mouse, a bowl of fruit snacks, and even the bathroom. So we sang and wished the ghost happy birthday and went on with our lives. Later that day, out of pure curiosity, I looked up the obituary of the man who had died there, and wouldn't you know it, it was his birthday. Dun, dun, dun. Is this creepy? Yeah, we'll give that a plus sign.
Aye, that could that could reach the creepy stage.
Very plausible, I would say, John. Very plausible.
I would think so, Kev.
I wonder how many people do live in houses where they have, for lack of a better term, John, a friendly ghost. Like, they actually happily cohabit. They know their house is haunted. They hear the things going bump in the middle of the night. But because there's been no, or maybe they've just got a stronger constitution than some people, whatever, they actually manage to live quite happily in conjunction, side by side with the ghosts.
Yeah, I mean, Kev, I think I could live with a ghost of a family member quite easily. Do you know what I mean? Maybe a wee bit different if it was a total stranger, Kev. You wouldn't know if they were good or bad. But a family member, that would work. No problem.
Oh no, you're a sicko. You want your auntie, your uncle be stuck in the house for eternity, John. You want Auntie
really.
Ethel to be walking up and down the stairs for 100 years.
What are they doing anyway? Sitting in clouds all day, you know what I mean? Just come down
Exactly.
here and do something.
Exactly. It's idiocracy down here. Come down for a laugh, if nothing else, right? So number 4, Whistles. Do you want to take this one? It's a short one. It's a nice one for you.
Man checks on car on the side of the road and finds
Hang on.
dead
Number
man.
4, Whistles. One above it. There
That's
you-
number 4.
Number 4 here is man hears footsteps in vacant apartment.
That's number 5
Well,
on my one.
I-
See? I got the new one.
you got the new one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right, you go with your one then.
Okay, right. And it says, man checks in his car on the side of the road and finds dead man sleeping inside.
Oh, no good.
Which is always quite good to hear. Anyway, I drove past a car on my way to class in college. Always took the back roads to avoid traffic. So it was a bit odd to have a car parked on the side of the road. When I came back from class, it was still there, and I drove a bit more slowly and saw that I thought there was someone sleeping in the car. I thought it was odder still that maybe someone was travelling and decided to pull over and take a rest and just fell asleep longer than they'd planned. Nope. Next morning, I read in the paper, a wife killed her husband and dumped his body and the car on that back road.
Whoa.
Ooh. Well,
Well, that took a bit of a turn.
maybe he deserved it, Kev.
Oh, there's the thunder and lightning, Johnny. I don't know if that was to like agree with you or to come and strike you. I don't know. So we'll go back to my number 4, and it's the man hears footsteps in vacant apartment. Police find a stranger with a knife inside. Again, this isn't sounding creepy. This is sounding dangerous. I
Yeah.
lived in an apartment a few years ago, and 4 units upstairs, 4 units downstairs. I lived upstairs, and the apartment below me was vacant. This is like one of these things, like you have to guess what apartment, what floor he lives on or something. There's like 4 up there, 4 down here. I'm in the middle off to the right, and this is going to confuse me. I kept hearing footsteps through the apartment, and I knew I shouldn't have. Nobody was downstairs, and I asked somebody to come over and listen, just to see if I was crazy. Maybe I'm just hearing other apartments since it's empty downstairs and everything is echoing. Wrong. I kept hearing footsteps. This went on for a solid hour, and finally I called the landlord and the police. Apparently someone had broken in through the window downstairs and was walking back and forth through the apartment with a knife. Effing horrifying. What the heck?
You better believe it.
Big time. Big time better believe it.
It's just waiting till it goes dark.
Exactly, might have been the Slender Man in there. Might have been a zombie-eating apartment robber. A brain-eating zombie apartment robber, John. You never know. But tell you what we're going to do, since these don't have quite the creep factor I'm looking for, how about we go to a story, and it's probably something I never, ever thought I'd come across. Have you ever heard of anyone murdering a ghost, Johnny?
Murdering a ghost? No, not that I can recall, Kev.
No.
This would be a first.
This would be a first, but it was a first back in the 1800s. Check this out. The man who murdered a ghost. And it says here, when Francis Smith pulled the trigger on a ghost in 1804, it sparked one of the UK's strangest court cases. I had never heard anything about this, John, and if I have, I've forgotten about it because this was new to me today. It says the story began several months earlier when various people around Hammersmith, London, reported seeing what they believed to be a ghost of a suicide victim haunting the streets. So prolific was the alleged spook that some residents even claimed that the problematic ghost had physically grabbed or attacked them in the vicinity of Hammersmith churchyard. Now, keen to put an end to the troublesome spook's shenanigans, local man Francis Smith set out with his shotgun on January the 3rd, 1804, in the hopes of tracking it down and permanently laying it to rest. Oh, everyone knows if you're going hunting ghosts, it's like holy water. Come on. Surely back in 1804, there was like the Derek Acora of the time to tell them how to go and find the ghosts, you know?
Exactly.
You would think so. But it goes on here. Things quickly took an unfortunate turn, however, when he managed to shoot and kill a bricklayer, Thomas Millwood, after mistaking his white work clothing for that of the Spectre. Now we're getting to the crux of the story then. Smith was subsequently charged with willful murder and sentenced to death. However, in an interesting twist, the verdict was later changed to manslaughter, and Smith's sentence was reduced to just 1 year in prison with hard labour because he had honestly believed that the man he shot was a ghost. So he shoots a man, Johnny, right? We've got this story of the ghost going around. He goes and shoots a man because he says it looked like a ghost because he had white clothing on. And then he gets sentenced to death, but that all gets kind of revoked and turned round, and he gets a year in prison for killing somebody. Just because he honestly made a mistake.
Well, Kev, I thought you were going to say when you say that the turn of events was the ghost came in and actually pleaded on his account that it wasn't his fault. Do you know what I mean?
I like a spectral eyewitness.
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, that's a perfect word, kid. Spectral eyewitness. That's it.
A third eyewitness.
Mm-hmm. A third.
So it goes on to say...
It's pretty weird, though.
It's very weird, man. I mean, this must be some, like, legal precedent. They probably still talk about this in, like, law schools and shit. Do you know what I mean? It says the actual ghost who had been plaguing the area later turned out to be a real person. Shoemaker John Graham, who'd been going around wearing a white sheet as a prank to scare his apprentice. Dude, this could have ended up with him being shot.
Yep.
Some practical jokes, I don't know. So it says Smith's supernatural defence would go on to become a point of contention in law for 180 years until in 1984 a similar verdict was reached during the case of a man who attacked someone who'd been dragging another man across the street, only to find that he had actually been apprehending a thief. The conviction of assault was quashed as he had legitimately believed a crime was being committed. Very, very interesting indeed. Very interesting.
It just shows you, kid, what people's minds were like in that time, where they still believed in the like witchcraft and the spells and things, and actually being able to go out with a gun and kill a ghost, thinking that you can actually go and do that, Kev, at that time is pretty weird, eh?
Oh, big time. Big time. Now, when we come back after the break, I am going to be putting on the phones. Yes, indeed. We're going to put on the phones. There's only so much woo that we can find for you on the tinterwebs out there. So we're going to go to you. Maybe you've seen something creeping about in your garden. Maybe you've caught a glimpse of one of these shadow entities that we keep on coming into contact with on the show. Maybe you just want...
Somebody's been scraping a knife on your wall.
Yes, while petting the wall and making happy, happy fun time mess at their feet. Who knows what's going on out there in our very twisted, broken universe, Johnny, this Halloween Eve?
Well, it should be good, Kev. We'll get some interesting stories after the Halloween, that's for sure.
Our callers are always great. Absolutely. I'm still surprised that we haven't had more stories about people dressing up as creepy clowns so they could have their 5 minutes of internet fame. But I dare say that could still come. We had a story a few weeks ago, and myself and Scott and Joe, we were kind of thinking that this would be the start of a spate of creepy clown stories. Now, the thing being, John, maybe the creepy clown thing has started again. And these creepy clowns are people dressing up as clowns. I'm not saying they're coming from other dimensions or anywhere else. But I think now maybe the media has stopped reporting on it. Because the more the media would report on the craze of the creepy clowns, guess what? It had an adverse effect. More creepy clowns would go out for their 5 minutes of fame. So maybe now they've realised, let's not talk about it. Because out of sight is out of mind. When it comes to creepy clowns, that's the best place for them. We'll be right back. Here we go, Mr. Whistles. Now, I need to jump to the toilet for 2 minutes, Johnny. I'm going to leave the chat room. I will leave the chat room with you here. Look. There you go. Can you see the chat room?
I can, mate.
I can blow it up even a bit. I can blow it up a bit bigger. And don't, just remember, Johnny, don't come too close to that mic because it is horrendous. Yeah. That's the one. There you go.
I'll stay here, mate, because I can still see.
Yeah, sit with a straight back like you got a back brace on. That's it. Pin to the chair. Do your best Stephen Hawkins, Johnny. I'll be back in a minute.
No worries, mate.
There we go. I'm back, folks. I'm back. Johnny, I hope you were keeping this audience nice and entertained there.
No, actually, Kev, I was just looking at the chat as it's going on there. And hello, everybody that's in there. I can see everybody calling my name, but I can't type to them, Kev, so...
You see, you were meant to just speak to them, Johnny. You see, you're on air with them. We're all good. We're good to go. You see, we've got it sussed here, man. We've got it sussed on the safe space. Big time. So I see, who else we got in there? We've got Valley, Austin, Mammoth all the way from down under. Just a Guy, good to see you back. Kev, I put one of my ghost story videos on Disco. Oh, well, wait, I'll go and pull that up. Absolutely. Hang on then. Did you put it in the general room, Armand? Yeah, I've got it. Oh, yes, indeedy. That will do just nicely. Let's bring that over here. Now, we'll be opening up the phones when we go back as well, folks, but there's also something else I want to speak to Johnny about before we get back into it. But we are about to go back live to the network right now, so stand by. Bear with me here. Ah, yes, Johnny, yeah, this multitasking thing, gotta tell you, man, we got it sussed, dude.
You got it good, mate. I must admit, I'm quite impressed with that screen. There's about 1,000 things going on.
I know. Too many things going on.
It looks like fluent Hungarian.
Well, if you could see, I've got another screen with even more stuff open, Johnny.
Oh my God.
Yep, it's ridiculous. But it works. Here we go. We're going back live. 3, 2. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment of today's Kev Baker Show on this Old Halloween. Yes, indeed. That sounded pretty cool, right, Johnny? Sounds like we're having a bit of an event there. But there is an event coming up very, very shortly. No. Sorry, folks. Anne was looking for extra ooga boogas there. She's looking for live streams with ghosts and things. But there is a big event on the horizon for myself and Johnny. I see Billy out there in the chat room as well. She's looking forward to this, as so many of you are. Whistles, Oak Island is about to come back, man.
Yes. Fantastic, Kev.
Have you seen any of the build-up for this season?
Nope. Not one.
Oh, folks, I can't play the clip here, obviously because of copyright History Channel kind of purposes. Pesky History Channel. But this season, folks, they are going to investigate the swamp area of the island. Now, for anyone out there who doesn't have a clue what I'm talking about when I say Oak Island, Johnny's ancestors set sail from the Middle East way back in the day, and they came over Europe and they settled in France and things, and then most of his ancestors got burnt at the stake, but a couple of them made it on a ship and they came to Scotland and they built Roslin Chapel and whatever the bloody hell they had in their boat, whatever it was that brought them great wealth and power, they thought, no, Scotland isn't even good enough to hide this. They got back in their boat, headed across the water and came into this place just off the Canadian coast called Oak Island. And back in the 1700s, I believe, the McGuinness brothers were the first ones to realise that there was stuff left there that suggested perhaps, at one time, pirates or other visitors had left great wealth on or beneath the island. And that sparked over a 200-year-long treasure hunt that is still going on today, and you can see the latest of on Oak Island. And Anne's doing a dance in the background because I'm talking about Oak Island. Johnny, I've reached out to the team of Oak Island twice. I've never heard back from them. Never heard back. But that's okay. That's okay. I love the program enough where I can let them off with that. But yeah, they're going for the swamp this time, Johnny. And it would appear from the teasers, lots to be found in the swamp. And of course, they think that a boat might have been sunk there at one point, right?
That's right. They found a piece of wood, Kev, that was, I don't know how many feet long it was, but you can tell it was definitely from a ship, a wooden ship. Yeah,
it was like one of the bits that would go round like the hull of a ship. It was one of those big, huge kind of like planks, walk the plank.
I know. I mean, I'm dying to see just what is actually under there. And as you say, Kev, for people that think that this is some kind of a, like, say, they're searching for nothing. Do you know what I mean? There is nobody puts...
Johnny, what they found already, I think, dispels the whole searching for nothing. I mean, they've created that museum on the actual island. Johnny's been thrust into darkness. What the hell happened there? Johnny's just fell into the money pit. You all right in there, Johnny?
I'm fine. It was my lamp.
I nearly crapped myself, man. Dang, dude.
God.
Yeah, what I was going to say was, because they found like bits of book binding like over 100 feet down. I mean, that in itself, right? How does a bit of book binding get 100 feet down on an island where nothing should have happened? And in the last season as well, they started to look at some of the shoreline and some of the structures that they started uncovering, John. I mean, this takes things to a whole new level. And I said last season, it's almost as if, you know, as they dig, they're pulling back layer upon layer. It's not been one thing that's happened there. And I don't know how long the history goes back, John.
Exactly. This thing has been searched for, Kev. It goes way, way back, because the plans that they had, they thought that was the first ones. But the structures under these that was there, there's things under that as well. And it really is incredible that they don't go through all this just as a hoax. There is absolutely no chance that this is a hoax. Something is there, Kev. And they will find it. I'm sure they will.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that starts, I believe, on the 5th of November, ladies and gentlemen. Season number 7. And just looking at little pictures here, so I am, and it definitely looks like there's a lot to be gained from said swamp area. I'm still trying not to laugh, Johnny. Your light's going out a minute ago. That was just too much. Thank goodness we weren't going into anything too creepy at that point, John. Or
Yeah,
I'm telling you, dude. But listen, talking of stuff that we've got to go into, our good friend Armand, during the break. Armand, a long-time TFR listener. He's also been a guest on the show. He is here religiously when we do streams as well. Great guy, fellow Scotsman. He's our sleeping cell down on the east coast, on the south coast of England, for when me and Johnny decide to mobilise and take things back, you know. But he is somebody that is not only well versed in the woo and very educated when it comes to the esoteric and all the magical stuff, as was evidential when he came onto the show. He knows what he's talking about. Well, here we have a ghosty story from Preston Manor Graveyard in Brighton. And this is from Armand. And folks, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to drop this link again to Armand's channel in the chat room at tfrlive.com. And I'm going to drop it again over at YouTube. Please sub to Armand. If any of you are dog lovers out there, yous are going to love this. Because him and his dog, they are always on there. And I tell you, Johnny, his dog gets steak Mondays. His dog's better fed. Yeah, his dog's better fed than I am. Telling you, dude. So let's get into Armand's creepy story here. Take it away, Armand.
Well,
that's what they say.
yeah, it's amazing.
Right.
Now, is there speaking comes on this? No, I'll need to save that one for the stream, I think. That's more one that we can watch together just on the stream. And because we're on TFR and iHeart right now, I'll need to leave that one for a stream. I think I'll bring that one up on the stream tomorrow, Armand. I'm just going to take an hour look, see if anyone's...
Walk from the side here.
Oh, hang on, there is people talking. Hang on, I've got it now. I've got it. See, just as well I checked, Johnny, see?
Yep.
We could have lost some good woo there.
Recording.
The route we just did there was the actual route of the ghost. What she did was she walked from the side here. I was sitting over at the back, which I'll show you in a second. She came all the way along here and over here. Then back to me. Over here and right around here. She walked up here. And it was about here when I was sitting over there. I just put my head down for a second, came back up, she'd gone. This wall here is about 6 foot, 7 foot. But on the opposite side there's a 20-foot drop. So there was no way she could get over there, I would have noticed. And from our standpoint over here, there was no way she could get by me. Yeah? Right, pause it.
Armand, that's looking like a cool hat you've got on there, dude. That is looking like a cool hat. So I'm taking it Armand's seen something, Johnny, in this graveyard.
Pretty weird. I mean, a woman, Kev, walking across and then walking over to the corner.
And how many times do you hear these reports of the white lady, the green lady, stuff like that, John? And this is so
Pretty
surreal.
creepy, Kev.
It's almost like, this is weird, Johnny. You look like some, whistleblowing hacker right now. It's like you've been kind of redacted out, but I can see the screen on. There he is. Look at that. Johnny Whistles, ladies and gentlemen. The legend. Taking things to a new level, just to add to the atmosphere. Johnny goes dark. So what I'm going to do is, folks, I'm going to take Johnny off the screen right now, because what I need to do is I need to add in the phones. That's right. I remembered. See, I remembered, Johnny. I've got a bad habit of doing that. But
Nice one.
just so that we can keep the, you know, we would have to go around and unleash the ninjas if people got a hold of the back end number. So I've had to take you off the screen for now. We'll connect that up. And what I'll do is I'll tell everybody just what numbers they need to phone in. And I'll copy this here and I'll paste it in both the chat rooms. I'm coming over to TFR Live first. Yes, indeedy, there it is. I see Lucky in the chat room. And don't forget, folks, coming up right after today's show, Lucky will be live right here on TFRlive.com with Dr. Brooks Agnew with Quantum Connections. So then if you want to phone in and be a part of the KBS experience with me to shine some light on you, or with Johnny to keep you in the dark, all you've got to do is dial the following numbers. Yes, if you're in the US, dial me up on 213-233-3998. Anne was giving me a hell of a look there. I could feel a hell of a look. See how you feel a hell of a look, John?
Oh, yeah.
I actually think she thought I was giving out my personal phone number to all the ladies. What's that all about? So again, if you want to call me up, it's 213-233-3998. That's 213-233-3998. If you're in the UK, it's 0044 203 393 2871. That's 0044 203 393 2871. So yes, Whistles, we have our phones connected. Hopefully we'll have somebody calling in real soon. Don't be scared, folks. We don't bite. Honestly, we don't. So yeah, it might be interesting to see what callers we get, Johnny. Always interesting to see the callers.
Yeah, somebody that's actually maybe even seen a ghost as well, the same as Armin, Kev. That would be good to hear a
Big time
story like that.
You know, the one that really gets me at the moment is all of the stuff that's like happening around Scotty Lopez and his family, dude. I don't know how much you've been able to keep up with that, Johnny, but you've got shadow entities. You've then had his mum, who was in the kitchen, and she thought Scott's sister, I think it was, she thought she was in the kitchen with her, just bending down at one of the breakfast bar, only to turn round and start speaking to said person to find they weren't there. So there was somebody there, but when she turned round, there was nobody there. And there's just other things been going on around Scott as well that he hasn't shared on air yet. I'm sure he will at some point. I don't know, dude. It seems to me since we started streaming and we started talking about this stuff more, it's been happening to more people. It truly has. So then we've got a caller on the line.
Oh, yeah.
We are going to the UK. So welcome to the Kev Baker Show. Hello?
Hi, Kev. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, how you doing, man?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks, Kev. Hi, Kev. My name is Steve.
Steve, it's nice to meet you. You're on with myself and Johnny. How can we help you this Halloween's Eve?
Yeah, this is a real spooky one for you, Kev. I never actually believed in ghosts up until about 2 years ago. She's now my ex-girlfriend. We've got a little boy who's now 6. When she moved into the flat that she's living in at the moment, I'm originally from Northern Ireland, but I now live in Portsmouth. And our little boy, when she first moved into her flat, we thought it was an imaginary friend. He kept talking to someone at night time when we put him to bed and stuff like that. And we kept saying to him, like, who is it? Because we could hear him talking. He was actually having a conversation. It wasn't like he was talking to himself. He was actually having a conversation. And he kept saying about how a man was like coming in at night time and speaking to him. And we thought, oh, well, there we go, an imaginary friend. However, this had been going on for about a year, and the lady that lived next door, she came in one day and she was talking to us, and she was going through some photographs. And one of the photographs was the old person that lived in the flat before my ex-girlfriend moved in there. And when the lady pulled out, when she was going through the photographs, when she actually came across, when she showed us the photograph of the old person that lived in the flat, that's when my son went, Daddy, he's the person that comes into my room and speaks to me every night.
Oh.
So the person that comes into his room every night, lived in the flat beforehand, who actually died in what is now his bedroom.
Wow.
I've actually got the hairs in the back of my neck. The hairs in the back of my neck, and I standing up, Kev, telling you the story.
Nah, Steve.
I never believed in ghosts.
Yeah, see the way.
Steve, what age was your son?
he would have been probably about 3 at the time, Johnny. He would have been about 3 at the time. But this had been going on like for months beforehand. Yeah, this had been
it's
going on
amazing
for.
because they say that from birth till you're about 7 or 8, they have an ability to see ghosts or paranormal things that we don't see. It's amazing.
When we thought like no, but yeah, you know when kids were imaginary friends, we actually thought it was an imaginary friend. It was just by chance that the old lady who still lives next door, that she came in like one day and she was just like showing us like some of the photos and stuff like that. And we were sitting there, and then all of a sudden, like our son Stevie, he went, oh, that's the man that comes in at night time and speaks to me.
Now, Steve,
and when we said who is that, she said, oh, that's the old person that lived next door that died.
oh, Steve, this is very like. This is very similar to one of the stories. Yeah, this is like one of the stories that we read out earlier on, John, where we had the young girl who was seeing somebody. And you know, Steve, the fact that you're telling us that the hair's standing up on the back of your neck, that's exactly how I used to get when I was like relaying my own story about the shadow dude. When you've been in that paranormal situation and you go back and you think about that same thing, it thrusts you right back into it. You get all those same feelings back. And that, for me, just it's extra confirmation that you were definitely touched with some woo there. Now, can I ask you then, Steve, how did things progress after that? Did you have to, say, get some kind of spiritualist in, or was everything okay?
No, nothing like that. So there was obviously like the odd situation where lights would actually switch themselves on and off. Even up until now, like my ex-girlfriend, even like when I'm not here, sometimes she says that she'll hear my voice when she's like in the bath and stuff. Even like when I'm not in the flat, she'll say to me like the next day, "Oh, I thought I actually heard you in the flat when I was in the bath last night and stuff." There's weird stuff goes on, but there's nothing sinister. There's nothing, nothing evil or nothing about it. So, and as I say, it's probably been now at least a couple of years since he said like this person like was coming into his bedroom and that. So yeah, I just thought I'd just let know when you were talking about like what you were going to be like discussing tonight. I thought that'd be like a nice one just for me to phone up and just to relay to everybody out there.
Steve, that is, and I bet you, Steve, that is a very common story indeed. And I imagine there's parents out there right now, they're sitting thinking about their own child and the imaginary friends that they may have. And I've always thought about this, especially as I got older in life. I had an imaginary friend when I was young, but I don't ever remember it being a physical entity, like something that was literally in the room. It was just something I came up with. But at the same time, I wonder how many people are talking to imaginary friends and parents just dismiss it, Johnny. But in reality, they are talking to somebody who's there. It's not their imagination at all. It's their third eye that's seeing somebody that is there.
Yeah, I mean, like you, Kev, I had an imaginary friend, but it was Hi-Ho Silver.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So
My one was
a
like,
real person.
My one was a cop that I made up in my head so I could go and like arrest imaginary bad guys with. You know what I mean? It was silly, but
anything to run about with a gun.
Well, Steve, thank you, Steve, for phoning up with that. Honestly, brother, and your accent, dude. I don't like people with your accent because I like to have the best accent on the show. So you can't be calling up with that Northern Irish accent again, right?
No, you can't trump. You cannot definitely trump my accent. No, I'll tell you what, Kev. My accent is I wouldn't have the sex life that I had if I didn't have my accent.
I'm telling you, dude, it's the same for us Scots. I tell you, when I was in the army, this travelled well, let me tell you. I don't know what it is about this twang. The Irish are the same. And of course, it's our good looks as well, Steve. That obviously helps as well, right?
Oh, yeah. It goes well, Kev, yeah. But it's lovely talking to both you and Johnny.
Oh, Steve, it's been a delight, brother. It really has. And please feel free to call again, Steve. Now, we've got another caller on the line. You see, Johnny, this is the way it rolls here on KBS nowadays, dude. Absolutely. Yep, we're going to area code 757. You are on the Kev Baker Show. Welcome.
Hello, this is Renzo again.
Renzo, how are you doing? What did you forget to tell me the last time? What's happening, Renzo?
I can't believe I forgot this story. This is like my best woo story that I have. But when I was I live by the Chesapeake Bay, and when I was 5 years old, I saw this huge, sinusoidal kind of like serpent eel like thing emerge out of the water and go back into the water. I didn't see a head or anything, but it was like, I don't know, 30 feet long, maybe.
Ooh.
Oh, now
And I saw it by.
On you go,
Sorry?
Renzo. On you go. No, on you go.
Oh, I was by. It was a river that comes out of, or it's like comes right out of the. I guess the verges off the Chesapeake Bay, like pretty close to the mouth of the Atlantic Ocean in the Chesapeake Bay. And my grandparents lived near there, so I was always at that house. So, I remember I was looking out just into the horizon or whatever, and all of a sudden this thing emerges out of the water and goes back in. And I even thought to myself, the adults aren't going to believe me. And I actually dismissed it for a long time as a false memory. But then I found out later that, or actually a few months ago, that there's this these Loch Ness creatures that have been spotted in the Chesapeake Bay. And it's called Chessie, actually, instead of Nessie, Chessie.
Yep, that's actually what I was checking up on
Bay,
there.
yeah.
And this is really strange because I think it was a couple of weeks ago I done a show with Clyde Lewis. I was on Clyde Lewis as a special guest, and we were talking about sea monsters, cryptids, that kind of thing. And Clyde was talking about some of these things that have been seen in America before, some of the different lake monsters. We were talking about the Kraken. But one of the things that came up in that conversation, Renzo, was the scientific testing that's been done in Loch Ness. Now, they say they found DNA from eels, and they say that that's the explanation for Nessie. Now, I can test that because as somebody that lived up there, I know that the loch is full of eels, so there's obviously going to be a lot of eel DNA in there. And how they can make that leap from that DNA then also belonging to Nessie, I'm not sure. But at the same time, Renzo, it really unearthed a lot of stories, historical stories, folklore as well, about these water serpents. And it's not just Loch Ness. These things are seen everywhere. And there was even somebody phoned into Clyde's. Yeah, somebody phoned into Clyde's show. And he was talking about being called out. It was when Fukushima happened over in Japan. And he was in the Navy at the time. And their vessel had to go and attend the earthquake, the disaster. And on their way towards Japan, they seen something that they thought was an overturned boat, a capsized boat in the ocean, 60 feet. And it just looked like it was an upside-down boat. Only when they got closer, they realised it was one of these giant squid that allegedly do or don't exist.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so when it comes to
That was
what's...
my worst nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, Renzo, when it comes to what's beneath the surface of the ocean, my mind is as open as it is when I look out into the vast infinity of space, because we know probably less about what's in our own oceans than we do about what we know in space. So whether it's serpents, monsters, anything. And I'm really glad you remembered that. And obviously I can't tell you it's definitely not a false memory, but it certainly fits with a lot of the other stuff I've looked at.
Well, actually, it's interesting because I used to fish off my grandparents' pier, and I would always catch eels.
There you go. There's the eels
That's
again then,
interesting about
Johnny.
the
See?
eels.
That is quite strange because you've got Loch Ness with the eels, and then you've got something filmed in Loch Ness as well, Renzo. That, I mean, this thing's massive, and it looks like a snake. And you can see it moving, so it's not driftwood.
That's what this looks like.
Yeah, it's underwater kind of cameras, and I get it, it's murky, but at the same time, you see this thing slithering. And I don't know, I'm far more open to these like giant eels, not just Loch Ness, but where you are, everywhere. And unfortunately, Renzo, we're running out of time now, so I'm going to have to let you go. And we're going to wrap this up for the day. Whistles, can you believe how quickly this has gone?
No, I have not. Okay, this has been brilliant.
Now,
Thanks.
Renzo, before you go, let people know where they can find your YouTube channel so we can get you some subscribers as well.
Well, you could just go to Renzo Scriber, and pretty much all of the platforms I use is Renzo Scriber. So YouTube, I also do Twitch? I pretty much am doing like all the platforms. I'm realizing that there's certain cultures with certain platforms.
Yeah.
And if you don't abide by those cultures, the followers get upset.
Yeah, you're right there.
Especially Periscope.
You can't please all the people all the time, Renzo. That once you suss that out, you've got it sussed. So I'm going to let you go, Renzo. Thank you for calling in again. And thank you to Steve for calling in as well. Northern Ireland punter. That was a good call as well. 2 good calls again, Johnny. And
yeah, that's the first time I've heard Renzo.
Yeah, Renzo, she's very active in our Discord. She's on the streams as well. And I am going to now hand over the TFR baton to my good friend Lucky and Dr. Brooks Agnew. They're going to take you through the quantum connections. Tomorrow, I'll be back, Scott Lopez, on the Halloween Safe Space. 5 p.m. in the UK, 1 p.m. on the East Coast, 10 a.m. on the West Coast. And tomorrow night, in a very special broadcast, in hour number 1, I'm going to be simulcasting with Brent Thomas, and we're going to take you through the Halloween Paranormal Portal. Until tomorrow, wherever you are, make it TFR.
And then you touch that dial.
Perfect timing, you see? You see? There we go.
My name is Ella.
There we go. We got it in just before the ad started. We're all happy. Everyone's good, Johnny. We're all good to go, man. No, Renzo, Steve, thank you so much for calling in. Yeah, we've started adding the phones more now, Johnny. It's an extra dimension altogether. We had a really nice old boy phoning up our first call a couple of weeks ago, and turned out his grandfather was one of the first medics at the American base down in Antarctica.
Oh, wow.
Exactly, John. You just don't know who's listening out there. You really don't.
Exactly, I know, mate.
Yeah. So, folks, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for supporting the stream. It's been great to see you all here today. I'll be back tomorrow. And so look what happened again. I didn't know if I was going to manage one stream today. And now we've been here for like 3 hours on YouTube. We've done a couple hours over on TFR. There's just no end to this madness. So until tomorrow, folks, we'll be back in the safe space. And I'm hoping Johnny can join me for hour number 2 tomorrow night.
Yes.
Sound good, Johnny?
Problem.
Oh, yes,
definitely.
indeed. In fact, if you go like that tomorrow and the light's still broke, what I'll do is, right, I'll get like a green filter and it'll look like you're like in the middle of a paranormal investigation, dude. Maybe I'll do that to both of us anyway. Maybe I'll just suss that out. Yeah, that'll look pretty cool. So listen, as we approach Halloween, one of my guests, in fact, 2 of my guests, Tia, the psychic medium, and Bill Bean, we were talking about Halloween approaching and things that you can do to maybe protect yourself at a time of year when things do get a bit weird. First off the bat, and I would think the only bit of advice I would give to anybody is, again, it's advice. It's not telling you what to do. You can heed it. You can smoke it. You can throw it out the window. It's just advice. But if you happen to be at one of these Halloween parties and maybe somebody suggests at some point, as happens, I've been there, well, we do a Ouija board, just bear in mind what you're playing with. You know, you wouldn't hand a loaded gun to somebody who doesn't know what they're doing with it. Somebody who knows not one end of the gun from the other, right? That would be totally irresponsible and stupid, and dumb things could happen. And it can be viewed as no different, folks, when you go into something like this. We often talk about the paranormal and how the spiritual warfare is all around us. And yeah, we laugh and we joke. But that, for me, is a coping mechanism to something that's very real. And it's something that sometimes we don't appreciate the power that lies within. Even myself included there. Look at me, big ballsy going up to Boleskine House, eh? Who came off best after that one? Certainly wasn't Boleskine House anyway. Well, it wasn't me, that's what I meant to say. But Boleskine House burned down too. Point being, when it comes to the supernatural, folks, be very, very careful what you're summoning this Halloween. Ooga booga. Now Johnny's away to make us some rabbit feet, and we're going to go out and we're going to chant to the midnight moon.
Yes.
We're going to be okay, John. So yes, tomorrow, Johnny, you going to be back, man? You going to be back tomorrow?
Yes, definitely, mate.
In the final segment of tomorrow's show, we'll open up the paranormal hotline. Yes, indeed. We will let you phone in for the final segment of tomorrow's show. And we want the creepiest stories. We want things that have got me and Johnny climbing under our desks to get away from it. I want to be left in a state where I'm scared to come off the stream, because that way you've got safety in numbers, right? Where there'll be a couple of hundred of us probably tomorrow here, all chilling out together. And I want to be that scared that I don't want to be left alone tomorrow night. That's how much woo I want. I want to feel that brown stuff running down the back of my leg, Johnny. I want the adrenaline pumping. I'm not going to be happy until I've like had one of those really scary, freaky moments, man.
Yeah.
That's what we're all after. What we're all after, right?
Yep. That's it, mate.
Johnny's thinking, Kev, hurry up and
Scarier
get
the
done.
better.
I'm sitting here in the dark, Kev. Hurry up and wrap this crap up. On that note, folks, remember to keep your mind open, keep looking at the woo, but not to the point where the brain turns to black goo. So until tomorrow, we will leave you with some very ominous music indeed.